Greetings, everyone. Your cartoonist pal Stan here for another episode of Random Encounters, the show where I use random encounter tables like the kind you find in role-playing games, tabletop role-playing games such as Dungeons and Dragons, to do some improv cartooning. That is, I don't know what I'm going to be cartooning. I have to have some ideas thrown at me, and I use the tables to do that. We will use uh, electronic dice rolling to randomly select a subject, a who, and an object, a what, or an activity, a what, and I will put them together and draw them while we're watching. I do this because it's fun. It's fun for me. Hopefully, if you're watching, it's fun for you. And I think that if you ever try anything like this, you'll find that that's fun for you too. The main thing I want to promote is that drawing is just a fun activity. You don't have to be a professional level cartoonist or someone who can paint something that will win a prize in a local contest. Drawing is fun for just the activity of it. Remember when you were little? Remember when you used to you sit around with your friends and just doodle stuff, come up with ideas and draw for fun? That's what I'm talking about. Drawing is still that fun if you let it be. And that is why I that's why I do this. Promote drawing. Promote the fun of it. So I encourage you to grab a pen, grab a pencil, grab a piece of paper, or your favorite electronic drawing implement. I, as it turns out, do everything on my iPad here. I use an iPad Pro. I use the app Procreate, and I use an Apple Pencil. None of this is sponsored. These are all the things I'd use just anyway for my own professional and personal drawing life, in my professional and personal drawing life. So there we go. Grab a pen, grab a pencil, grab a pad of paper. Doodle. You don't have to draw the same thing I'm drawing. You don't have to. Sometimes these are complicated. In fact, I'll spend a lot of time talking to you about what ideas I'm having and how we're putting it together. That's part of the fun of it. But draw what's sitting in front of you. Draw your phone. Draw the can of soda that's in front of you. Just draw your dog, or your cat, or your meerkat, whatever your pet is. Just draw. Okay, I've said enough about that. I'm gonna change over here. We are going to come up to where am I looking? I'm looking over here. This is the random encounter table sheet for the week. I'm going to use this to and the die roller I was talking about before, and I'm going to randomly pair up who's and what's. So let's do it. Let's get going. I'm going to pop on over here to the die roller, see how the die rolls, and we're going to roll it once, twice, third time. Two. Two is our first who. And 1, 2, 3, 3. 3 is our first what. So I'll come back here. I see Dave Lemon is here. Hello, Dave. And Becky Mayer is here. Hello, greetings and salutations. Greetings and felicitations. That is my fancy way of saying hello. Charlotte's Web. Okay, so it was a 2 is a hook horror, and a 3 is the annual physical. That's an interesting combination there. Okay, so I'm going to take that off, and we're going to come over to round 1. I'm going to use blue. I like to do my sketching in blue, and then my inking in black. Some of this terminology is really goes back. Some of the why I do things and the terms I use, they go back to physical media, 20th century physical media. So hook horror, for those of you who do not know, is a creature from Dungeons and Dragons, and they're kind of like a big hulking beast with a here I'll start doodling one here. They've got a big hulking body with claws on their feet, and they've got arms that come off the shoulder and then turn into these big giant hooks, and their heads are kind of are bird-like, kind of buzzard-like or vulture-like, and so and big kind of muscular arms that turn into these hooks. And they've sometimes have been uh, in different editions of Dungeons and Dragons. They've been uh, the details have changed around a bit. Sometimes they've had kind of a loose, feathery uh, body. Sometimes it's been very lean and muscular with no covering. Uh, I'm not really sure exactly which way I'll go this time. Probably the lean and muscular, though I might throw some feathers on just for the fun of it. Clear that out of there. So we've got a hook horror. Turn your head and cough. That's a good one. That's a good one. We have a patient standing there. And Dr. Hook Horror over here. Can have his hook down like that, and he could be saying, "Turn your head and cough." I like that. Let's go with that. Put our person in his skivvies. I mean, I suppose I could put him just in a blue hospital gown. That would be a little weirder for how to uh, draw that. It's a little more difficult. So I'm just going to put him in shorts. And I'm going to make the hook horror smiling. There we go. Now these two don't seem to be standing on exactly the same plane, so I'm going to have to move something. I always like drawing on a lot of people don't want to draw unless they can have like white paper. I really have always enjoyed drawing uh, on a notebook paper, lined notebook paper, or graph paper, even, because there are lines there that I can make sure things are sitting on the right parallels with. And what am I not liking about this? Well, I'll tell you what I'm not liking about this. I don't want him to be using his left arm there. I want him to be using the other arm. Why, you ask? Well, I'll tell you in a second. The why is because I want to be able to show the chest of him, so I can have him over here with his other hand. He can be wearing a lab coat, and I can put a stethoscope around his neck. This also saves me from really having to worry about where most of his body is, because it'll be underneath the lab coat. I'm going to give him a little bit of feathers up there. The hook horror, very often the question is the beak. Sometimes the beak has actually not been a beak, but just a beakish shaped snout, and sometimes it's literally been a beak. I think I'm going to go for the literal beak myself. There we go. Like that, we might maybe make some funny pattern on the shorts. And very often in cartoons, a character will be given hearts on the shorts. It's a pretty standard one, but we could do any number of things to make it seem more fantasy oriented. Could be swords, could be wizard hats. Actually, I don't know why, but for some reason I'm doing a little extra sketching. Usually, I try to do as little as possible. I'm just feeling like sketching more. And you know that's the beauty of this is you just kind of do what you feel. I could go with this right now. I definitely see enough. I kind of want to figure out what our just gonna make him like a middle-aged guy who's in for his annual physical. All right, let's grab all that, make it bigger so it takes up more of the page. Go, looking good. And we'll come to the lines layer and start to draw. I'm going to start with a line that we are confident in. It's always important to start with a line you're confident in. You see all the sketching in that. You see how often little one line will cause another line to have to change so that they'll line up right. So you want to start with lines that you're confident are going to be good and stick around so because you're going to be building the rest of your drawing around that. Go. Here, put that up. And the stethoscope. Nothing says doctor like a stethoscope, right? Um, how's everyone's week going out there? Let's get to Thursday. Man, it gets to be Thursday, and I can't believe the week is almost gone. And we're in a brand new month. You know, uh, uh, I don't watch the late night shows, but I do watch a bunch of the. Uh, I often will watch the monologues um, or particular interviews or bits that I find amusing. uh, and every the start of every month, uh, Jimmy Kimmel does a piece showing uh, all of the news anchors across the country starting their broadcasts saying, "I can't believe it's May already. Can you believe it? Can you believe that?" Every month they're completely dumbfounded and can't believe that it's a new month, which is a funny bit, I think, despite the fact that, or maybe because I feel the same way. I can't believe that it's it's May, except of course it's May. That's what happens. What I'm really saying is, I thought I was going to get more done in April. How did I not get more done in April? Hmm. There we go, and see that he's coming together pretty quickly and pretty well. I distrust that. Cars. There are a lot of D&D monsters. Dave Lemon says it's an invertebrate anthropod. Yeah, there's a lot of D&D monsters that, if you try and fit them into actual scientific, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Taxonomy. Try and make them fit in the animal kingdom. They just don't. Now that's why a lot of those creatures wind up getting uh, categorized in D&D as aberrations, which is to say they don't. Yeah, they're different. They're just weird. They're by their very nature they're weird, and so give up trying to make it work. Figure out how. Figure out why. An invertebrate arthropod? What? Yes. Now roll for initiative. All right, I'm leaving those shorts blank for the minute, but you guys can certainly weigh in on how I should decorate them. I want to put something on it to decorate them. This guy's not wearing plain shorts. He's got some kind of decorative shorts on. That's just how he rolls. But what are his what kind of decorations? That's what I need your help with. Arthropods. It's got interesting Interesting stuff going on in the chat. Dave says arthropods, insects, crabs, spiders have chitinous exoskeletons, so invertebrate makes sense. But it's not articulated that way in any of. Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, if you look at the hook horror, it's not a chitinous skeleton. It's just a hook. The rest of his body, the rest of the creature's body, seems very, I don't know, almost mammalian. Right? It's got a big, thick barrel chest and arms and a musculature, a humanoid musculature. So, again, it's I don't know for sure, but if I had to bet, I would guess that it's an abomination or an aberration. So, how did it get that way? Well, some weird wizard just cooked it up that way. All right. Let's turn off the sketch layer and see what we got here. All right, that's looking pretty good. We're going to need to add a little bit of extra little more line work just to make it work. Now, I was about to give the nails, but again, I mean, I could do anything I want here, but these are just hookish toes, not toes with claws on them. There we go. That's looking. Well, some of those little bit of color will take care of that. Right now, those spaces are looking a little empty, but when I add some shadow in there, that should take care of it. All right. And he's going to be saying, turn your head and cough. Turn your head and cough. Carefully. Oh, okay. So what are we going to put on the what are we going to put on the shorts? Aberration, says Dave. Looked it up. There we go. Aberration. No logic necessary if it's an aberration. Diploma on the wall. Yeah, I was thinking about background stuff, but I usually don't. I usually don't bother with that for these, just for the sake of time. We'll see. This is going. No, it's going to wind up eating up about 20 minutes. What are we going to put on? Oh, so think about that. The shorts, I need an answer, but I can start coloring some other things in the meanwhile. So I switch to the colors layer. I go to the gloaming brush, which gives me that crayonish, markerish effect, and it lets me do these imperfect coloring style, where I kind of fill in the internal shapes. And that helps. just to add a sense of texture and shape that would otherwise go missing if you do a flat, full coloring. I say this most weeks. You can, if you practice doing this kind of thing, this will be very effective if you're coloring with particularly crayons and markers, though you could get it with pencils too. Pencils are a little more difficult because you have to work harder to make it work. Pencils, when you color with them, color, colored pencils, they don't you don't get this feeling of when I do if I do this with a pencil. In fact, let me just shift to yeah, that looks like a pencil. If I do the same, no, it doesn't work at all. All right, let's shift to a sketching. There, pencil. So if I do that, it doesn't feel like a single mass. It feels like a squishy thing. When you do it with a marker or a crayon, it feels like a single unit. And so this coloring style works. At least that's my theory. It's my theory and I'm sticking to it. Everyone needs a theory. I need a theory so I can get invited no. I knew that was feeling funny. I took it off gloaming. Oh, where are you? Gloaming. It wasn't having that feeling of being a single unit. I could just tell by looking at it. Go. Yeah, I need a theory so that when I hit it big and I get invited onto uh, other people's podcasts to speak, or I go to get called to an artistic conference, I have a theory that I can put forward. Maybe I should write a book about it. Here we go. I'm going to give it an orange beak and come here to our guy. It's not enough to have something that works. You got to have an interesting theory. All right, here we are. We're at the point. We're just about at the point where I'm going to need some kind of idea for what goes on those shorts. I haven't looked up at the chat yet, but I'm hoping to see something. Don't let me down, people. No, I need a better color. Need something that's going to stand out from the blue. There we go. All right, 20-sided dice. 20-sided dice is the obvious answer and so hard to draw, but I'm gonna go for it. They are tough to draw. You kind of want to make them uh, hexagonal, but they aren't. They're off. They're close to hexagonal. It's very difficult to hold a D20 and have it be actually have the profile that you see actually be hexagonal. There's a flat, extra flat surface because it's 20-sided. Got to do a lot of very specific placement of triangles to get yourself a 20-sided shape. But having said that, this doesn't have to be perfect by any means. I'm zoomed way in here. The final one, when I'm done here, is going to be tiny, and pulled back like that, so we'll be fine. Come back to the color layer, and that's maybe a little too bright red. There we go. Oh, I guess he probably need to do something with his hair, even if it's just add some gray to it. And we'll give him kind of green eyes. There we go. So now I'll come back to my lines layer and put a little stand in the corner and say that we have a hook horror. You know what? No, not done yet. Not done yet. I want to add a little bit of that shading I was talking about onto the hook horror itself. Like so. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, very much. Just like that. Okay, now we're done. Turn your head and cough carefully. Yes. Good start. Good start to the evening. Let me take a little sip here. Yeah, I saw the diploma on the wall, or an eye chart on the wall, or an examination table in the background. There's a bunch of stuff that could pretty quickly be added to this to make it feel like a more complete scene rather than just a drawing of two characters. Um, I say I don't usually do that here. The thing is that because because people expect it not, and I don't mean this in the, like they consciously, people's minds expect that uh, things like tables and chairs and cabinets and frames on the wall are going to be in a certain way. Like you've got to get it closer to correct in order for it not to trigger the "Hey, what's going on there?" question. Now, as it is, we look at things here like this arm. What's going on here with that arm? That doesn't make a lick of sense. But because everything else is so weird, same thing with that the elbow area. But it works in and doesn't draw attention to itself because everything else is weird. Less so, I have to make sure that I get the legs fitting where they looking like they come where they should out of that body. The skeletal structure of our guy has to be a little closer to correct, and that's even more well. It's very true with humans, and it's just as true with basic shapes in the environment and um, basic perspective in the environment. And for a quick sketch like this, it's much easier to do it wrong and cause yourself problems than it is to do it right. It's not that hard to do. I'm not trying to say that it's that difficult to do. But in a quick sketch situation where I want to try to get three of these things done in an hour and a half or so, it would add an extra 20 minutes to do it well, 15 to 20 minutes. And I just don't value it that much usually. If it's important to the gag, I put it in there from the start, and that's helpful. But to add it in afterwards, yeah. So that's all that to explain why I ain't gonna do it. All right, let's reset everything here and close out round one. Open up round two. Get it set. You've been here before. You know how this goes. And taking one more sip, and we'll go back and roll another one and do another drawing. All right, so we had a Hook Horror annual physical for our first random encounter. Let's go back to the dice and see what the second random encounter is going to be. So here we go. Once again, once, twice, third time, 6. That's going to be adventurers. Once, twice, third time, and 2. 6 and 2. So adventurer or adventurers and 2 drops the cell phone. Okay. All right. There's a lot of ways we can play with this. We'll turn that off and come here to our drawing. Now, I mean, we could have a an adventurer in the middle of fighting something, have his other hand have the cell phone that's falling out of it. He's saying, "Ah, crap." We could have someone not fighting something, but say near the edge of some kind of dangerous, like a lava pit. And it could be 1, 2. Oh, let's see. What would that be like? I would want to go like 1, 2, 3, and there'd be the cell phone falling into the lava. That's possible. Wizard Featherfall casting Featherfall to save his phone. That's it's and it still cracks. Dave, you are. I'll tell you again. You're inventing stories, not single images. um, that's a funny gag to work into a story somewhere, but because it needs the as I say here, we've got for the one with it going to the lava, we can communicate oh, he dropped it by having these lines pass around, and they're going back and forth. So you can imagine he's been forward, he's skipped, he's been moving forward, he tripped, or something's going on, and the phone hasn't quite hit the lava yet. But if you want the thing you've described, Dave, has to have, here are the pieces it has to have. The wizard has the phone. Something happens, so boopity boopity boo, he drops it. He casts Featherfall. It finishes the fall and lands softly, but still cracks. It's at least three or four pieces of information that have to be communicated in order for that joke to land. Um, which is not bad. It just makes it not particularly appropriate for a single panel gag. Um, it would probably, but it would make a really good 3 panel cartoon. um, I'm liking the dropping it into the lava right now. I think I'm just gonna make an executive decision and go with that. So we'll erase that there entirely. And we'll grab this and move it bigger so that it fills most of the space, and then do a little more cast feather fall, not magic arrow. Funny people here. All right, so let's see. I'm gonna have this be a halfling. And let's see. I'm gonna have to erase these. They're right now confusing me. Well, not confusing me. There will be once I start drawing more lines. Those are going to be confusing. So we need to have a hand coming out there. We need to have another one coming out there so that we can have a 1 and a 2 and a 3. Now, I'm trying to work. I do really love the idea of wanting to cast Featherfall on it. I'm not sure how that would work in this situation. I'm not sure if it works. Not sure that it doesn't, though. Okay. trying to find a way to make that trying to find a good sequence of uh, a good verbal sequence to make that work. I'm gonna say I think that it it does work, but it's incumbent to it will only work in as much as the story is told well. In other words, it's a good idea that's mine to ruin. And I don't want to ruin the story. Oh, something from the Something emerging to eat it. I mean, it doesn't have to. It could be a swamp, and it could just be like a crocodile. Right? We can get rid of the swamp. The uh, necessarily lava. Um, so most people these days, when they're on their phone, they're texting, not talking. So maybe he can be saying, he can be screaming at the phone, text Featherfall, text Featherfall. It's a little. It's one that's going to make people have to think to figure out what's going on, but I don't think that's bad. Why don't we go with that? That way we can get the best of both worlds. All right, there we go. That's enough to run with. I did all that on the lines layer, huh? Well, the lines layer is now becoming the sketch layer, and the sketch layer is becoming the lines layer. There we go. Who cares what it says? As long as they're sitting in the right order, that'll work fine. Okay. It's got a very Disney feel to it. And not on purpose. I didn't do it on purpose, but the way that this has turned out. The uh, the shape of the characters, particularly, I guess these big round feet are helping to that. But the way the shape of the body, the positioning, the what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, Posture. The big um, bulbous fingers. Yeah, I mean, I didn't intend it this way, but I kind of like the Disney esque style that is coming out of this one. See what I mean? Is it just me? But it really kind of has a Disney flavor to me. Hmm. I think we need those. Yeah. Had the hair going the wrong way. And I think I want this to be a higher loop. Really, if I were to do this, if I wanted to have a finished version of this, I would have, rather than just one set of hands, I'd have the kind of, you see in cartoons where there'll be multiple sets of hands because they're moving so quickly. I think that would be a big help in selling this idea. Need buttons on the gloves? Well, only if you want it to be Mickey. I guess I was presuming this is a crocodile or an alligator, but it doesn't have to be. It could be some kind of. You give it a more draconian look, but I'm happy with the crocodile. There we go, and we're gonna have the phone in there. And sometimes it helps me to pull back and just look at the whole thing for a second, get a better idea what we're dealing with. And still have the bubbling swamp water, swamp gas. Again, I would another thing besides the I was talking before about how it's difficult to do um, backgrounds because you need to get the shapes and the perspectives right. It would be easier to put trees in the background here, but it'd be easier if I do it on another layer. Because right now, if I did it on this layer, I'd have to worry about not crossing over. You do want it to pass behind these at about that level, so they're interacting with them. But actually drawing at that level would be difficult. And most of my drawings that I do, I put the whole background on a separate layer. Very often I have different characters on different layers, so I can pick them up and move them around and make sure they're interacting the way I want. All right. Uh, oh, maybe instead of So I thought he'd be yelling at someone. I'm like, how would he hear him if they're texting each other? But what if he's like Siri? Siri, cast Featherfall. And now, if we can come up with something for Siri to reply, that would be fun. But that's maybe gilding the lily. That's the kind of thing that you come up with when you do gags like this. You do cartoons. You very often come up with a thing like this, and then you put it in on the side and let your brain percolate on it to get either the the second beat, which makes it even funnier, or a replacement. Like this one. We started with Cast Feather Fall, let it sit for a while, and it became, oh no, no, no. This Siri idea popped up now. I'm giving credence to that because it's my idea and I like it. But even if even if it isn't that specific example, that kind of thing, you let it sit and then you come back and he looks Disney and he also looks a little Euro. It looks kind of Smurfish. Hmm. Unintentional, all these things, but interesting to notice. Interesting to see what's going on in my brain. Uh, it's maybe a little too dark. Dave says, I don't have any down. Yeah, that would be the kind of, you know what? I don't have any down. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't do somatic components. I have no, I have no hands. It's, there's another one. I think that idea, there's something in there. Getting it right is going to be a finessing job. Got to finesse that idea and those lines so that they work. Um, they have the right beat, the music of the comedy. Hmm. Oh, I like the green, except I'm about to make the crocodile green. Maybe we'll go with the purple. What do you think? No, no. I think we'll undo the green on the phone and pick another color for that. He definitely feels like a crocodile. He wants to be greenish or greenish brown. Maybe I'll go for a friendly purple on the phone. Mm. Go. It's looking okay. Maybe blue, maybe a blue on the phone. And then we can go with that greenish gray for the swamp. Like that. Yeah. The, in my head, the Disney is gone, and the Smurf, the French slash Belgian cartoons for kids is showing up. Why won't you show up the way I want you to? There we go. Looking good. We'll come back to the crocodile. Like so. Same thing with the cliff edge and the grass. The boots and the rogue suit, the rogue outfit. Here we go. And then let's just come back and take a crack at that Siri line. I'm sorry. I can't do somatic components. Not perfect, but I'm feeling it. All right, so here we go. We've got an adventurer dropping their cell phone into a swamp, into an alligator's mouth, crocodile's mouth. Bet you didn't think you were going to be seeing that tonight, did you? No, neither did I. That's what the show's about. Okay. Looking good. I do like how that turned out. I'm just staring at it because I'm thinking about whether this is going to make me happy, or I'm just not going to be happy until I go and redo this as a more meticulously crafted version and either try to sell it or post it somewhere else. I mean, on the one hand, it's public, right? This is going to be out there. I'm gonna push this out on my social media, and of course, this video is going to be around for folks to watch, um, which makes it harder to sell it. Places want to have original things that haven't appeared anywhere, but on the other hand, I'll be honest with you, there are not as many people tuning in. There aren't enough people tuning in to really make that a very uh, high risk proposition for me yet. I would love it if there were enough people watching that anything I hear just could not be sold because it had been seen by too many people. But that's not actually the case right now. All right. Okay, I'm gonna take that off the screen. Turn on that. Turn on that. Get ready. Get it all set. One more sip, and then we'll do one more drawing, and then wrap it up for the evening. Ah, you ready? Okay. We've done two really good drawings tonight. Oh, I mean, if I say so myself. And let's time enough to do one more. Let's do one more. So we're going to go back to the randomizer, back to our electric die roller, and get one more pairing. So, once, twice, third time. Six, we already had a six. Let's do that a fourth time. Five. And once, twice, third time. Also five. Okay, let's see what that gets us. I feel like I cheated by taking a fourth roll, but it'd be an imp on high pollen count. Or if we switch, it might be imp using chopsticks. And the last time I did imps, they were kicking up. The idea, the joke was they were too small for their thing, and that's what the chopstick joke comes to mind. So not I'm not immediately keen on that, but I don't really have a first uh, first idea for High Ponket. Ravenlore, hey, how's it going? How late are you? Well, we've done two drawings. We're just starting the third, so you're in time to catch one complete uh, piece. We're trying to figure out what it's going to be. So the die roll has given us it repeated. We had an adventurer for our previous one, and it gave us a six, and then it gave us a five, and another five. So if we're working with that, if we switch the six over to the what's, then that gives us using chopsticks. And the two fives are both imps. And uh, um, I'm just bemoaning the fact that the gag with an imp last time was that they were too small for the thing they were doing. And chopstick sounds like that's going to be it. See, 3 or 4 imps trying to open a childhood-proof cap of antihistamines. That's got legs. That's got potential. Let's turn off that list and sketch around a bit. So zoom in so we can get an idea on this. So to start with what the pill bottle, something like this, and because imps. I mean, the funny thing about imps and high pollen count is imps in D&D very often are drawn with very big noses. I don't know if you guys can hear. There's a loud, thumpy helicopter going over right now. Do imps have horns? I don't remember. I know they've generally got. All right. All right. So what? So we can have this, and somewhere on here it can be. You can have the name of the antihistamine, and someone somewhere down here it'll say childproof. Um, any particular antihistamine folks are wanted to put a have put up there. We're going to give them horns. Of course, they've got wings too. I keep forgetting that. I do that a lot with creatures. I know I'll have to put wings in, but I want to get the body structure right, and then I immediately forget that I've got to add the wings back in. Okay. There's not a lot of room to blow it up, but we can blow it up some. And I could move this other guy off from being so far off. I could move him over here. That'll give us some more room. Not a lot, because it's tall, too. But, oh, yeah, some. Yeah, if I change the way that tail is poised, I can get even a little more. Okay, that'll do it. So we'll come to the lines layer and start putting in some lines. See, someone's put in something that's histamine related, so that's good. I didn't see exactly who or exactly what, but that doesn't. I feel confident. We'll worry about how that plays out later on. There's another, I guess, little lesson in that. I don't know that I can go back and show it exactly, but um, when drawing those wings, I did this at first. I drew out and up and then out, and then my next line came back. Now, one of the nice things about drawing digitally is that you can just hit undo. But if you do everything in one easy motion like that, the only way you can undo any of it is to undo all of it. So one of the things that you should get used to doing when you're drawing like this is when you get to a spot like here where it's going to come back, stop and then go up and down and stop. And that way, if you have to go backwards, you can take out parts of it and not have to take out the whole thing. See, whereas before the entire wing would disappear, I now can go back that far, or that far, or that far. Just one of those practical lessons. Now, this guy's that's sneezing, his tail, the way it is going to be something of a problem. So I'm going to have to move it so that we will be able to see some of um, the label on the pill bottle. As it was going to block the entire thing, and then there goes that gag. There we go. Come on, there it is. And on here, I'm getting to the point where it's time for me to start thinking about buying a new iPad. I was just reading this week that Apple is likely to a new iPad Pro. It's important that it be a Pro. Um, Otherwise, a lot of the things that I do with a pencil can't be done. The new iPad Pros that they are supposedly about to announce, though, one of the big rumors going around is that they're going to raise the price significantly. It was already not insignificant price. I'm not saying it's not worth it. I'm just saying that it's harder to handle. Go. Pretty good. Again, I'm going to practice what I preach here. Have him holding up a handkerchief, dabbing his nose. This guy's going to get just some little motion lines to show that he's straining to open that bottle. And this guy can be saying snark. I'm trying to think of what it can have. So I wanted to see, I mean, my first thought is just as, like, hurry up, would you? But in order to get some kind of difference in the spelling to show that his nose is stuffed up, it would have to be a different, there are only some le- uh, letter sounds that are easy um, to use to get that message across, like D's instead of N's. Anything that takes a wow, my my phoneme name part of my brain is shut down for the evening. But anything that takes uh, a soft sound like an M or an N, and that requires you to have some kind of nasal aspect to it, and block it up so it becomes a D, a ruddy nose. Um, Hurry up doesn't have any of those. um, Ooh, I'm looking at what Becky said with the Laura drill. I like that. That there is a fine pharmaceutical pun, and I'm using it. Laura drill. Okay, let's change this around. Let's change this around. What I can do is make it be, come on, snark. I want it to be snark. Has to snark. It's child. I like whoever said that. It's child proof, not imp proof. I like that. I'm going with it. I know I didn't say that at the time, so it might seem like I'm trying to steal your thunder. But I saw it. I saw it there in the chat. I guess the snark will do it, right? The snark and the holding the handkerchief up to his nose. Let's turn the sketch off and see what we got. Alright, let's put a little bit of extra shading in here and there. Finish a couple of these lines more completely. Here we go. That's looking pretty good. Hurry up. All right, so we're going to go to the colors now and switch over to the gloaming brush one more time. Imps are usually a ruddy color. May not make them all the same color. We're going to start with this guy. In fact, maybe I'll make each of them a different color. This guy will be some kind of blue imp. Maybe the sneezing guy will be blue. I don't know. I know that Dave is going to get this reference. I don't know that anyone else here will. But as I started coloring this guy blue, suddenly it reminded me of the imps from Wormy, the cartoon that ran in Dragon magazine back in the early days. My friend Steve Winter maintains that that is the funniest. Wormy was the funniest cartoon and maybe just some of the best stuff that ever appeared uh, in Dragon magazine, and I'm not sure I would want to argue with him about that. Not 100% sure I agree, but I don't think I'd want to argue the point. And maybe green for our other imp. I haven't looked up since I made that statement. Anyone else out there remember Wormy? Have fond or not so fond thoughts about it? I know that at the time, this is, I don't know, it's not a hot take because I don't feel this way anymore. But at the time, I really didn't like Wormy very much. And that was because it appeared irregularly and it had a strongly episodic uh, uh, um, continuity to it. So if you didn't if you didn't know what had gone on before, it very often just seemed strange and um, almost nonsensical. Why is this happening? What is going on here? But if you did, um, having gone back and read the whole thing, I find that if you do read it as a whole, uh, that it makes a lot more sense than I ever suspected it might. There's a lot more story there than I ever suspected when I was reading it and not getting it. So use the increasing size in the lettering to give an emphasis. Achoo! I mean, The extra O's help, but or certainly start it, but together with making them bigger as they go away really emphasizes that big sneeze. There we go. I don't think that this one really needs any shading. Everything is very loose to begin with. I think it might be done. We have ourselves some imps on a high pollen count day. Diddy beep, biddy beep. I should have had my own variety show. All right. Wow, that's another wow. Oh, we've already gone over an hour and a half. Time flies. I can't believe it's an hour and a half already. I can't believe that it's May. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? An hour and a half has gone by. I want to thank everyone for being here. Before I do the wrap up, I want to thank everyone who's here. Thank you, Dave and Becky and Ravenlore, who was here for a while, may still be here. We've had other people hanging out. I know, just kind of lurking, which is a-okay. You don't have to speak up. You're welcome anytime. Come on back. And if you're watching on replay, thank you. Thank you, too. Please do take the time. You know what? No, I'll put this in the wrap-up. So, one more swig. And I will be ready in a second. Here we go. You ready? We're going to do a wrap-up. This is going to be very exciting. No, it's not going to be very exciting. But we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it right. That was another good evening. No, terrible. Oh, cut. Try it again. You know what I found? I was rewatching part of rewatching one of the recent shows to put timestamps in it, and I noticed that every time I get set to plan to start a segment, I begin by saying, "All right," and so now I've got it in my head to don't say "all right," but I need something. I need something to launch off. And all right is what comes naturally. So I'm trying to break myself of that habit. It's the kind of thing, if you've ever done any kind of public speaking or camera work, you learn as you're watching your playbacks, you hear all the ums and uhs and ers, and you learn to not, you teach yourself to not do that as often. I don't think anyone can prevent him or herself from doing it at all. And there are probably people who can. But it's superhuman effort to learn to do that. But it's not superhuman effort to learn to just let there be a little silence. If you don't have anything to say, let the pause hold. Don't and ah. So it took a little work, but over the years I've taught myself to mostly do that. Now I've got a new one, and that's the all right. All right. Don't lead with that. Say something else. Well, we've come to the end of another show, and let's look back and see what we did. It was a good evening. Got 3 very good drawings. Here, of course, is the Imps on a High Pollen Count Day. And before that, we had an adventurer drops their cell phone. And before that, we had a Hook Horror annual physical. All 3 very scary propositions. I'm going to leave the Hook Horror up here just because it's the image makes me laugh. So thank you, everyone who tuned in. Thank you very much. If you're watching this now live or on replay, please do me a favor and go and click the like button. Whatever platform you're watching it on, whether it's a like or a thumbs up or a heart, whatever the thing they want you to give, please please do me a favor and give it. Not because I want you to praise me, though of course I want you to praise me, but because that helps with getting the algorithm of that site to decide to share this with other people. And we want more people to come and show up. More people means more fun. So please just take a second, give it the like or the thumbs up or the heart, whatever the thing is. Leave a comment. Those of you who've been chatting in the chat, that totally counts. Those of you who are otherwise, just a little 3-word, hey, love the show, or ooh, I'll be back next week, or something. Again, that kind of interaction is what the algorithm looks for and uses to judge whether or not the show is worthy to share with other people. And you want more people like you to come and join us. So thank you. Please and thank you. It was a good show. We had a lot of fun. Uh, I will be back next week with another episode of Random Encounters. But on top of Random Encounters, I don't know if you know this, but I do another show. Random Encounters is Thursday evenings. On Wednesday evenings, I do a show called 50 Years in the Dungeon. And you can get a free newsletter for 50 Years in the Dungeon at 50 Years in the Dungeon. See how many times I'm saying that. 50 Years in the Dungeon.substack.com. The show is celebrating the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons. Each week I have a guest on for an interview, someone who has worked on D&D over the years. Some often people I have worked with, but not always. And we chat about their involvement, how they got into playing the game, what it was like working. We dig up some funny stories from what it's like working on the game, and all the while, as we're having the chat, I do work on a cartoon homage to a classic piece of D&D art. So I've done the cover of the original Dungeon Master's Guide, and the cover of the first Dragonlance novel, and other pieces of classic D&D art. Each week, I do a new one that I work on while we're chatting. And if you subscribe to 50 Years in the Dungeon.substack.com, you get the finished art will show up in your email when it's done, and you'll get other updates for what's coming up later, and all kinds of things. You also get a discount on merch for the show, which right now there is not a lot of, but you never know. You never know. Thinking about some things, looking into the possibilities. So there you go. I would appreciate it very much if you did that. Please check out the show. And then if you like it, sign up for the Substack. And if you like it, please share it with your friends. And even if you don't like it, if you know someone who you think would, please share it. This show, that show, any of the things I do, please share them around. It would mean a great deal to me. I'm trying to increase my audience and become a. I mean, I've been a professional writer and cartoonist my entire career, but now I'm trying to become a creator in the modern internet sense of the word. So your help is much appreciated. So there we go. That'll do it for tonight. Thank you again, everyone who showed up in the chat room. Thank you to everyone who's watching this on replay. I'll be back next Thursday and next Wednesday. And until then, you can catch me on my Instagram, instagram.com/Stanex. And if you really want to get involved in the stuff I'm doing and get some behind-the-scenes information and other nice little extras, you can join my Patreon at patreon.com/Stanex. Come on over. Have a look. Maybe you'll like what you'll see. Okay, pitch time is over, and I'm going to go have myself a mid-evening snack. Thank you again. I will see you next week. Take care, everyone. Bye.